Friends, hello everyone. Just imagine the life of a tyrannical dictator, who gets everything he wants, but in one moment, loses all his power, and is forced to live the simple life of people. This is a story from the movie, The Dictator, and today, I will tell you in full. Admiral General Aladdin, born in 1973, never knew his mother, who died during childbirth. As an adult, he held his own Olympic Games, where he earned 14 gold medals. The dictator speaks to his subjects, and promises that he will use uranium only for peaceful purposes, and certainly not in order to create an atomic bomb and attack Israel. Only after that, Aladdin, along with his uncle Tamir, come to a secret base to look at their nuclear weapons. Scientists demonstrate a rocket to a dictator, but it doesn't quite live up to what was expected result. Aladdin wants to see the head of his nuclear program, and scolds him for the rocket not being the shape he wanted. He begins to argue with him, but in the end, Aladdin executes him. Returning to the palace, an assassination attempt is made on the dictator, but it turns out to be a double Aladdin. Later, we find out that it was Aladdin's uncle who planned it all. Aladdin is not going to stop there. In the deserted desert, the military finds a shepherd, and brings him to the dictator to approve him for the role of a double. Aladdin doesn't like it at first, his new counterpart, but realizing that his job is only to get a bullet in the forehead, he still agrees. In the evening, Aladdin sleeps with Megan Fox, after which he takes a photo with her and hangs it on the wall, which is something like a personal collection. The next day, Uncle Tamir tells the dictator that the United States has demanded to come to them and say a word about their nuclear program. Otherwise, they will authorize a military operation. Aladdin agrees to speak to the UN, and goes to New York. As he sleeps in the hotel, he is kidnapped and tortured, but Aladdin only laughs at the old method of torture. The kidnapper decides to cut the dictator's beard, but a fire breaks out and Aladdin escapes. Aladdin comes to the hotel, where he is to perform and demands to be let in, but without his beards are mistaken for a simple homeless man, and later the dictator notices a government car in which his uncle is sitting, and a new double. The dictator shouts out that there is an imposter in the car, and not a legitimate ruler, and this is picked up by a crowd of protesters. Aladdin's doppelganger is about to perform in front of the UN. The man steps onto the stage and collapses. He then drinks water straight from the carafe, and then pees in decanter. A moment later, he is already drinking his urine, and after drinking, he tries to give it to the Israeli delegation to drink. As a result, after dousing the ambassador with his urine, he returns to the podium, and delivers a speech recorded on a piece of paper, which talks about writing a new constitution, and the birth of democracy. Aladdin does not like democracy at all, and he tries to get into the building, but his attempts are suppressed by a water cannon, and his action inspires the protesters. Aladdin is helped by a girl named Zoe and takes him away on her scooter. In order not to betray his identity, the former dictator comes up with a new name for himself, Allison Burgers. Zoe brings him to her store and offers him a job. Aladdin is not used to such a life, he mocks the store employees. Meanwhile, the dictator's doppelganger gets bonuses, several gorgeous girls, but doesn't know what to do with them at all. A completely alien new world is not at all clear to the former dictator, wandering the streets of New York. In the window of an Apple store, he notices the former head of his nuclear program, whom the dictator executed 2 years ago. Aladdin follows him, and the surveillance leads him to a small cafe that is made for those who hate the dictator Aladdin. The whole restaurant is filled with people he once executed, but they are all here and somehow alive. The owner of the establishment almost realized that Aladdin himself was in front of him, but he was saved by the head of the nuclear program, who recognized him, passing off the dictator as his brother, sat down at the table. They make a deal. The head of the program will help Aladdin return to power, and he will again make him head of the nuclear program. Making observations at the hotel, which in 3 days will be the signing of the new constitution. Aladdin notices Zoe and hides. Upon learning that the girl's company will serve the banquet, the dictator comes to Zoe, and clumsily apologizes to her. The head of the nuclear program figured out how to explore the surroundings of the hotel. He booked a helicopter tour, and being on a helicopter, the two arouse the suspicion of 2 other American tourists. They end up being arrested on suspicion of terrorism. Zoe, who came to free Aladdin, starts yelling at the officer, accusing him of discrimination. At this moment, the former dictator begins to feel for her previously incomprehensible feelings. Zoe and Aladdin leave. Zoe hugs Aladdin and it touches him a lot since no one has hugged him before. In the evening, Aladdin comes to Zoe, and as a gift for saving him from prison, offers to please him. The girl refuses, and tells the dictator about self-satisfaction. In seclusion, Aladdin gets completely new feelings for himself. Aladdin wants to thank Zoe, but sees that their contract for serving the banquet was taken from them, on the day the constitution was signed. The dictator takes everything into his own hands, using his experience of government. At the store, the head of the nuclear program informs Aladdin that found the perfect beard in a wig shop. But the dictator wants it to be the beard of a great man, and having learned that a famous drug lord has died, they go to the funeral. The next day, a joyful Zoe comes running and informs that the banquet service contract is theirs again, as their competitors have on the counter found the head of a drug lord. In their store, a woman suddenly begins to give birth. He delivers her. After that, on the rooftop, the two are about to make love, at which point Aladdin confesses who he really is. Zoe thinks he's joking, but when he puts on his stolen beard, she gets it. Zoe becomes very upset and asks the dictator to leave her forever. Aladdin sees what is happening in his state, and he is about to commit suicide by jumping off the bridge, but the head of the program arrives and inspires him with his speech, forcing him to change his mind. The day has come for the signing of a new constitution. The dictator and Nadal come up with a new plan and throw a cable onto the roof of a nearby building. Aladdin is transported to the room to his double. He is about to shoot, but this is not needed, as the double decides to leave. Suspecting nothing, Tamir comes out and realizes that this is not a doppelganger. Taking off his beard, Aladdin orders Tamir's arrest and tears up the constitution. After, the dictator starts talking about how good he is in a dictatorial country, and when he is about to say how he feels about democracy, Zoe comes into the hall and he starts talking good things about democracy, comparing her to the appearance and character of the girl. He then confesses his love for her and promises to make his country a democratic republic. When everyone is happy, Tamir breaks out and shoots at the dictator, but his double closes him. At the end of the film, we are shown a fair election, based on which Aladdin won 98% of the vote, and the former dictator marries Zoe. That's the whole retelling of the film, The Dictator, the story about life of a tyrannical dictator who gets everything he wants, but in one moment loses all his power and is forced to live the simple life of people. If you like this retelling, then do not forget to like this video and click on the subscribe button, and you can also watch other retellings on this channel.